So, as community organisations and community members participating in research, you know, it may be the first time you've done this sort of work, or you may not have done much of it. There can be lots of things to understand and learn, lots of unfamiliar terminology and processes. I've been doing this work at a community level for a long time now, and there are some things that I've done myself, mistakes I've made, and things I've noticed with others as well that are probably best, you know, avoided and best for you to be aware of. So we thought we might run through a few of those things for you. They just might be helpful tips and help you navigate the world of partnership between research and community. So these include things like drawing too big a conclusions or broadening out too much, not paying enough attention to the sample size or the methodology, sampling methodology, not making generalisations on behalf of whole populations or entire communities when in fact the study only really applies to the participants in that particular study. Confusion around numbers and percentages and terminology. There can be endless terminology, ratios, confidence intervals, things like statistically significant, incidence and prevalence. If you're confused about those sorts of things, the best place to start is to ask the researcher involved. I'm sure they'd be happy to help. Only looking at an abstract for something that you're looking to refer to or cite. The abstract is the place to start, not the place to finish. It's a brief summary of the research, and it may not give you may sort of take the wrong conclusions about whether something is right for your purposes if you only look at the abstract. Definitely take the time to source a full paper from something. Using the first citation or reference that you come across for your work, say for an advocacy argument or for a funding submission. Don't just take the first piece of work you come across and think, well, that says something that I think is relevant. Take the time to make sure it is the most relevant, it is recent. There may be other work in the area that's more powerful, more persuasive. Once again, ask a researcher that has standing in that particular area. I understand that community organisations may not have access to lots of databases, but you need to, that contain, you know, recent research and references. But if you go to someone who has standing in that area, they'll surely help you find the latest work and what will be best for your purposes. If something in a paper that you're looking at is unclear to you, contact the author once again and ask them. They'll love the fact that you're contacting them about their work, that someone's reading their work and using it for, you know, good social purposes. That's why researchers do the work they do. So make sure you contact them if you need to get clarity, and also talk with your colleagues about your reading, your understanding of things, and get more confirmation and clarity that way. Read how it's been used in other contexts. Perhaps the researchers themselves put out a media release when they released the report. That might give you an indication of how best to use the data, what it's best used for. There's often a discussion section in documents, for example. This can help with making too big a generalisations as well. The discussion section is generally a part of a paper where the researcher often feels they have a bit of latitude to go into what they thought the implications of the research might be, where it might have practical implication for policy or practice. So that can give you a clue as to its best application in the real world. And then finally, if you can't get a hold of a paper, and I alluded to this earlier, but often for community organisations, not all papers are available free to access. So, and if you're not part of a university, it can be very difficult to get access to the latest research. So once again, contact the author involved. I guarantee you they will be pleased that you've contacted them. They're not in the business of selling another copy of their paper. What they're in the business of is knowledge production, knowledge exchange, and working with community to get good outcomes based on the research. So they'll be pleased you've asked, and I'm sure they'll be happy to provide you with a copy of their paper.